Hi, friends, and welcome to the Copper Kings 100 2026 question and answer session brought to you by Onward Endurance, the Montana Endurance Trail Foundation, and Treeline Endurance Run Coaching. Joining me is Greg Marshall from Treeline Endurance, who's been our official training partner, our official coaching partner for this whole season as we've been getting ready for the race, which is coming up now, and as we're recording this, just 2 weeks away. So we wanted to provide this video to answer a bunch of questions that have been sent to us, as well as answer some questions that we know you're wondering about, but you just haven't yet asked. And so Greg and I are both going to be providing you with as much information as we can as you're getting ready with your final preparation for this big event. And so, yeah, let me just introduce Greg. Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, thanks, Wes. My name is Greg Marshall. I'm the head coach over here at Treeline Endurance, and we're incredibly excited and grateful to be the official coaching partner of Copper Kings. We've put a lot of work together into creating the official training plan that we know a large number of you have used to kind of ensure success on race day and build your fitness as well as your nutrition strategy, your sleep kind of protocols and all of those sort of things. So just really excited to kind of chat through any additional questions people have as they kind of finish the fitness and start working on logistics.
Yeah, I mean, logistics is a big part of it. Of course, the training has been an ongoing thing for many months for a lot of people. Running 100 miles is a big deal, and we are here to support you all and help you along the way, along this giant course, and get you to the finish line successfully. And we're so excited to see you at the start line, see you at bib pickup, see you at the finish line, see you along the way. Um, this is a big deal for all of us, and we're working our tails off to bring you a wonderful adventure, and we're so excited. So we want to bring you the most up to date information that we have, and I do have a couple of race related updates that I want to provide before we get into some question and answers. Most of you probably wouldn't even notice this, but I like to be complete, and I'm very detail oriented when it comes to the race course. There was a small change to the course that I made. I can't remember when it was now, sometime recently. I've been in Butte working really hard doing trail work, and during the section working up in the Conda to Moulton section, so this is the second to last section of the course, a small deviation was made from what the map was previously showing. Like I said, you might not otherwise notice it because when you go through there, their course marking will show you where to go. But if you have the course loaded on your watch, there might be a time when you turn right and your watch starts to complain that you're off course. Your watch will probably stop complaining less than a quarter mile later. But if you are like me and you like to have everything complete, you can go to the runner's guide and access the CalTopo map and download the most recent course files. The I think the If I remember, there are also links to Gaia GPS and some other files on the runner's guide. Those are not updated with this change. It's just on CalTopo. So anyway, just want to let you guys know about that. Also, another recent change. I'm actually here at the KOA in Butte. I've been staying here during my visit, and this is a wonderful place to stay. And so I just wanted to share with you all that KOA has joined us as a sponsor. If you're still looking for a place to stay while you're in Butte, and if you have an RV or a van, or otherwise you just want to do some camping, KOA is offering a 20% discount to you. And so all you need to do is call here and talk to the people on the phone, and they'll be able to set you up with that 20% discount. Okay, so let's get into some talk about the actual sort of the timeline of events and various detail-oriented questions. I have been asked when bib numbers are going to be released, and that's always an exciting time when you are finally able to put bib numbers on your drop bags. So as we're recording this, we expect registration to be closing tomorrow. So by the time you're watching this, registration will probably be closed. And so we will be releasing the bib numbers early next week. So that's going to be Monday, June 15th. We should have them up on Ultra Signup. So all you have to do is go to Ultra Signup, go to the Copper Kings 100 page, click on the entrance tab, and then there'll be a column for bib numbers, and there you can learn your bib number. And then please put your bib number and your name on every drop bag, as well as the destination aid station on there as well. So if any one of your drop bags were for some reason get disconnected from the place it's supposed to be, we know who it belongs to, and we also know where it should have gone, so which aid station. So yeah, we're excited to get those bib numbers to you next week. We were also asked when the aid station menu is going to be finalized and shared with you. We're Still kind of working on those details, although we have made a lot of progress on figuring out what exactly we're going to have at all the aid stations. The runner's guide currently has a pretty good overview of what we're having, and next week I'll be working to make sure that's more up to date. But if you keep an eye on the runner's guide, you'll see generally the list of what we're going to be offering at the aid stations, so that can help you with your planning. Okay, more information about drop bags. We were asked where are they going to go, if they'll be dropped off at bib pickup or at the race start. And we will be accepting the drop bags during both times, but we really do encourage you to bring them during bib pickup, especially because the first aid station, the Basin Creek aid station at mile 12.1, we need those drop bags to be to us before race start. We do not want you bringing your Basin Creek drop bags to race start. That's too late for us. We need to have that truck already packed and ready to go. So for the aid station, Basin Creek, which that aid station drop bags moves to Moulton, as you remember. So that drop bag you should bring with you definitely to bib pickup so that we can load that up. The other aid station drop bags you can bring to the starting line if you want a little bit more time, and then we'll be loading those trucks up as the day progresses on Friday. We also had a question from a runner asking about what happens if they finish well before the race cutoff and some of their drop bags are still at aid stations. Do they have to wait for the race to end before the drop bags come back? And so that will be the plan for that is that we will have volunteers shuttling drop bags that are completed from aid stations back to the HQ area during the race, but that won't happen instantly. That may only happen once or twice throughout the day. So you might still need to wait some time for your drop bags. If you finish really early, or if you drop from the race and want to go collect your drop bags, you can drive to the crew accessible aid stations to go pick up your drop bag. I just ask that you make sure that you drive especially carefully if you ever see runners, because there are certain parts where you need to drive on the course in order to get to an aid station. So notable exceptions will be the Pipestone aid station, which you cannot drive to, and the Our Lady of the Rockies aid station, which you cannot drive to. So those aid stations, you will need to wait for them to close and them to bring the drop bags back to HQ. But otherwise, some of the aid stations that are open for a really long time, like Nez Perce and Conda and Moulton, we will hope to have a little bit of the finished drop bags brought back early so that you'll be able to get to those drop bags. So some things like which aid stations are accessible by crew, all that information, of course, is in the runner's guide. So if you are wondering about that, we won't detail all that in this video, but the runner's guide will tell you where your crew is allowed. And of course, the aid station cutoff times are also listed in the runner's guide. And so please consult that so that you're aware of all the times that you need to have left an aid station. And that is the rule with our cutoff times. The cutoff time is the time you must have left the aid station, not that you must arrive there. So if, let's say, there's a 12:30 p.m. Cutoff time, if you arrive at the aid station at 12:30, well, I guess you have less than a minute to get out of there, because you have to be out of that aid station at the cutoff time. You can't just have arrived there. And all that information, again, is in the runner's guide. Okay, I mentioned a little bit about dropping. What happens if you drop and how are you going to get back? And that's going to depend a little bit on if you have a crew or not. If you have crew, of course, you're welcome to get a ride back into town with your crew. I guess I should back up and just say if you drop, the process will be that you will talk with the aid station captain. You will give your tracker to them because we need to get that back. And then once you have your tracker to them and you can then go pick up your drop bags, you can do what you need to do. So then your crew can bring you back. If you don't have a crew, then you can get a ride back with a volunteer, which in most cases means you're going to have to wait for the aid station to close before you can get a ride back. If we have extra volunteers, we will try to send them out to aid stations to ferry back dropped runners if we have some. Those same volunteers might be out there bringing those drop bags back to HQ. So if there's somebody driving back to HQ, you can get a ride with them. And then, of course, another way you can get back is you can hitch a ride with somebody else's crew who's driving back into town. So there's lots of ways, but if you're if you're at an aid station where you can't get access to a crew or somebody else's crew, you'll have to wait for the volunteers to drive you down. And so that brings up a good point, which is that Our Lady of the Rockies is an aid station where crew is not allowed to go, and it's a very difficult aid station to get to and from. And so if you drop there, you will have to wait for the aid station to close before the volunteers can bring you down. And this is why we ask you, please do not drop at Our Lady, because you'll be there for many hours, and it's just not a good situation for you or for anybody. So it's just much better for you to proceed on. We don't want any of you to drop, but please don't drop at Our Lady. And then, like I said, when you are at an aid station, you'll get a ride back with a volunteer, or we can find a ride with you with somebody else. Okay, let's talk about some gear issues, some mandatory things related to gear and our trackers. So every runner is going to be carrying a satellite tracker. It's a Spot. That's the brand, and I think the actual model name is the Trace. But we rent these from Track Leaders, which is a terrific company that a lot of races use. Um, and your tracker must attach to your pack on your shoulder, which leads to our rule that you must be wearing a pack or vest with a shoulder strap that we can attach your tracker to. Last year, we had a few runners who started the race without a vest and they only had like a waist belt, and that caused a lot of problems for us. And so this year, we're being very explicit that you must have one of these packs. That doesn't mean you can't have a waist belt. It just means you can't have only a waist belt. So you can have a pack alone or a pack and a waist belt, but you can't have only a waist belt. And that's just so that we can make sure that those trackers are easily seen on your shoulder, because that's how it communicates to the sky. Okay, so one of the runners did ask about the size and weight of these trackers. If you haven't used one before, you won't even really notice it on your shoulder. They're very lightweight. They weigh about 3.1 ounces. They're less than 3 inches in length. I think it's 2.7 by 2 inches by 1 inch. A little bit smaller than a deck of playing cards, and it just attaches, like I said, with a little piece of Velcro that wraps the tracker around your shoulder. And once it's there, you never have to worry about touching it. You don't have to interact with it in any way. I guess the only thing to keep in mind is if for some reason you decided to change packs in the middle of the race, you really need to make sure that that tracker moves onto the new pack. You can't proceed down the course without that tracker. So, yeah, those are some information, or yeah, good things to know about the trackers. Let's see. Let's talk about headlamps and lighting requirements. It's probably pretty obvious you're going to be running through the night one way or another, and so once it's dark, you should have some lighting to help you get through the course. But the part that we really want to emphasize that we want you to do is to start the race with a headlamp or waist lamp, whatever your lighting situation is. Please wear that from the start, and please leave those lights on all the way to Basin Creek Aid Station. By the time you get to Basin Creek, the sun will have already come up. So your instinct will be to turn off that light, but I'm asking you to please leave it on, because the cars that are driving towards you who aren't expecting you to be there will see you much better if there's a light shining at them. So for better visibility, we do ask you to wear headlamps or waist lamps from the start and keep them on all the way to Basin Creek. A runner asked about cell service and if they should bring an inReach. The course has cell service on most of it, but there are definitely sections where there is limited to no cell service. And so having an inReach is a great backup plan if you want to be able to communicate in one of those areas where there is no cell service. If you go to our course map on CalTopo, on the upper right-hand corner, you can click to enable different data layers, different informational layers. And there is a cell coverage layer in CalTopo that you can turn on, which will then allow you to see what the cell service situation is. You can see where there are parts of the course where there's definitely no service. So that might be something just to keep an eye on. And then we also, if it was me, I would run with my phone on airplane mode just to save that battery. If you are not going to run with your phone on airplane mode, definitely bring with you a little battery that you can charge your phone with. You'll want to make sure that whatever you have your course loaded on, whether it be your phone or your watch, make sure that that is charged up and can run the entire time. And if it can't run the entire time, bring something to keep it charged with. We don't want you out there losing track of the course because your battery dies. Another thing we ask you to do in the in Runner's Guide is to have emergency calories with you, about 500 calories. And somebody did ask me if that is on top of the regular fuel that you're bringing for this segment, or if it's a separate number of calories. The intention with this rule is that if you were to come into some emergency situation where you are immobilized, you might be waiting for a while for help to come to you, and so you're going to need extra calories to help sustain you. And if you only had the calories you brought for that segment, they may already be depleted, and now you're left with nothing. So the idea behind this rule is 500 calories that you otherwise do not touch, so it's on top of the calories you carry for each segment, and it's just there in case there's an emergency and you need something to sustain you while you're waiting for help. And then the last thing I want to talk about in terms of gear is the question was, are trekking poles allowed on the course? And they certainly are. We have no restrictions on that. And if you have been training with and you like using trekking poles, then yeah, I recommend it. There's some good long climbs where getting your arms involved will definitely be helpful. A runner asked about bear spray, and they wondered if we recommend it, and we definitely do recommend bear spray. However, I will sort of caveat that to say if you know how to use it. I don't recommend going to the store on Thursday afternoon, buying some bear spray, and then deciding to bring that with you on the course, and then trying to learn how to use it while you're being introduced to some wildlife in the forest. That's not the best time to learn how to use that kind of thing. So if you know how to use bear spray, definitely bring it. All the locals around here carry bear spray when they're out in the woods. We don't really expect you to have wildlife encounters, but we are in their home here. This region is home to many mountain lion, black bear, and there is a resident grizzly in the region. So we just recommend that you make sure that those animals know that you're there by making noise as you travel through the countryside. So pair up with another runner, have a good conversation, and that way when you're traveling down the course, all the local animals will know you're coming because they'll hear you guys talking. During the bib pickup and during our race briefing, we will have a representative from the U.S. Forest Service who is the sort of the local expert on the grizzly population. He will be giving us a brief informational talk about the local wildlife. Okay, let's talk about weather. June is a very volatile time in Montana. We often are switching between blue skies and storms within just minutes. And we've had highs as high as in the mid 70s, and have lows in the low 30s, and depending on where you are on the course, it'll even get below freezing. So I recommend that as you're planning your drop bags, think about that section out of Our Lady of the Rockies, because between it and Nez Perce, and even beyond Nez Perce to Conda and into Moulton, that upper part of the course is a little bit colder. And definitely in the last couple of years, I remember seeing a 27 degrees one morning. So it's going to be cold at night, and it's potentially going to be warm during the day. And then it's also potentially going to be a little bit, either rainy or snowy or windy. We've had all different kinds of weather over the last few years, but for the most part, when it is doing one of those precipitation events, they don't last very long. So I just recommend that you be prepared for anything, and just like it. And if you have the power to communicate with those who control the weather, put in a good word for good weather. We've had great weather the last couple of years. We would like to keep it that way. It's a lot more fun when we're not standing and running through a downpour. Let's talk about bugs. There are definitely mosquitoes on this course, especially up in the Nez Perce area. There are some streams, and where there are streams, there are usually mosquitoes. And so you might just want to be prepared. In fact, all of our aid stations will have no mosquito spray from Wild Scents. So our wonderful sponsor will be providing us with mosquito repellent that we will have at the aid stations. But we will also I also recommend that you bring with you something to repel ticks. In the last couple of weeks, as we've been doing trail work, both myself and other volunteers have found ticks on us, and those happened on totally different parts of the course too. One was found in the Highland area, which is basically mile 25 of our course, and then also I got ticks when I was around mile 85-ish in the course, so in the Moulton area. So there are ticks around here, and so one just think about how you want to deal with that. Look for them on your body after the race or whenever you're on the course, but you might consider bringing some repellent with you. A runner asked about porta potties on the course. Will there be toilets on course? And basically, every aid station that we have on course, with the exception of Our Lady of the Rockies, every aid station will have porta potties. And every aid station that has porta potties will also have bare butt wipes, which is a sponsor of the Copper Kings 100. So if as you're taking care of business and you are, going to freshen up, we will have those available for you in the porta potties. The reason why Our Lady of the Rockies does not have a porta potty is because it'd be really difficult to get one there. But also, we're really lucky that Our Lady of the Rockies location does have very nice, uh, like real inside bathrooms with heating. And so, in fact, it might be one of the things where you may want to get in there, do your business, and get right back out because if it's cold outside, you might want to stay there. It's nice and warm. So there's bathrooms at every aid station. So definitely you'll be taken care of. Just a reminder, this is a cupless race, so please bring a reusable cup. I expect that by now most of you should have a reusable cup from some other race, but if you don't have one, we will have them available at the merchandise tent, so you'll be able to give you one of those provided by HydroPack. Okay, as you're planning your hydration and thinking about reusable cups, please also think about bringing a filtered bottle, either a filter that attaches to your bottle or a separate filter bottle. I really like the Katadyn or Katadyn. I never know how to say that, but the Katadyn Be Free filter. I like to use that when I'm on things like this where I can get the water from the stream and then squeeze it into my chest bottles. And then once I'm done with that, then I then fill that bottle one more time. So I have an additional liter that's still in that filter bottle that I can stick into a pocket. There are places along the very long section from Our Lady to Nez Perce where you can filter from streams. And so I strongly recommend that you bring a filter bottle for that very long section. That means that just makes it so that you don't have to carry, whatever, like 3 liters from Our Lady. You could instead carry maybe a liter from Our Lady or a liter and a half, and then use your filter to refill your bottles when you get to the bottom of the big climb. So yeah, please keep that in mind. And if you have questions about the course, of course, by now you've already studied the runner's guide, I hope. But if you still do have questions about any of the distances, the runner's guide has all that information in it. Okay, let's talk about pacers, and then I'll hand it over to Greg. I was asked if pacers need to attend the pre-race meeting. The answer is no, pacers do not need to attend, but the pacers do need to sign a waiver, and they can do that at bib pickup. We will have them available there, and once you've signed your waiver, you can pick up your pacer bib. But you can also have your pacer sign the waiver at the aid station that they are starting to pace from, and then the waivers and those bibs will be available there as well. And then I was also asked if pacers need to bring the same mandatory gear that runners have, for example, a bivy or a space blanket, emergency calories, those sorts of things. And basically, the answer is that we really recommend that pacers do have all of those things. If you, as the runner, and your pacer were to become immobilized, you're going to both want to have some way to stay warm and stay fueled while you wait for help to arrive. So having just one set of those things might be pretty inconvenient and unsafe. So we recommend you both have that. Also keep in mind that pacers do not carry a satellite tracker. Only runners have those. And that's exactly why the pacers must stay with the runner at all times. And then just as a reminder, all pacing is done on foot, no bikes or other equipment. So yeah, if you don't have a pacer, please don't fret. I know that the long section from Homestake to Our Lady and then on to Nez Perce is an excellent section to have a pacer with you. But if you don't have one, there are a lot of runners on this course, many of them running your pace, and it would be quite easy for you to pair up with somebody as you're leaving the aid station and you can travel with them. It's a great way to make friends, lifelong friendships on the trail. It's a great way to meet people. So that's the end of the questions that I have. And so I'm going to next hand it back over to Greg, who's going to talk about some training related questions and suggestions as we get close to this big event. So Greg, over to you.
Thanks, Wes. Yeah, excited to chat a little bit more about some of the specifics for our group run, which will be on course held this Saturday. So I'd like to give a few details around that here to start. We'll talk a little bit as well about some other questions we got around specific challenges associated with the Copper Kings 100 from a training perspective, tapering since we're approaching that period, diet over the last few days as we look at Copper Kings coming up and kind of making sure that we have nailed the also famous carbo load. And then we'll finish with a couple of sort of pitfalls to avoid if this is your first attempt at a 100-mile race. Okay, so kind of starting at the top there. What time do I need to be at the training run on June 13th? So a quick refresh. Wes and the team sent out an email a couple of weeks ago advertising our Treeline Endurance sponsored group run that'll be occurring this Saturday. We'll be meeting at the Homestake Pass trailhead. I'll provide a little more information there, but the time of our meeting will be 9 a.m. in short form. Okay, so we'll meet at that trailhead at 9 a.m. It's directly off of the highway, and we'll send out some links associated with that as well to provide a little bit more information. But we've chosen this group run site very intentionally based on our past experience working with athletes training for 100-mile races. On race day, most runners will cover this section of the course at nightfall with 46 miles already in the legs, and it's going to be among the more challenging sections runners will encounter on the course. Okay, so we feel it's a really good opportunity for people to expose themselves to that challenging section in daylight with fresh legs, so that by the time they arrive there on race day, they'll have a lot more comfort and confidence in that section on race day. Okay, so the course will close at that aid station where we'll be meeting at 9 p.m. So we can say pretty safely that all runners will be coming through there right around nightfall. For the group run on this Saturday, again, we will be meeting at 9 a.m. and depart as a group from the trailhead by 9:10 a.m. Okay, so really try to be on site by that time. We will have a sign in and sign out sheet where we basically collect your name and your phone number. We'll leave the group, the trailhead as a group, and it's going to be very important that you sign that sheet when you come back as well, right? So we just want to make sure nobody's gotten lost out on the trail. We want to give you all the tools to make sure that you're able to navigate this section with us effectively. But we're going to kind of use that to make sure that we've kept track of all runners as well. So it'll be a sign-on sheet, and we'll talk about that when we meet up, okay? Many of you are using the Copper Kings 100 training plan that Wes and I have put together for you, and that plan has a 4.5-hour long run, really your last serious long run before race day that is occurring this coming Saturday. So that'll be sort of our last major workout before then. Accordingly, the group run will be 4.5 hours. So we'll leave the trailhead at 9:10. We will plan to arrive back at the trailhead collectively at no later than 1:40 p.m. So that's going to give you your 4.5 hours out on course. We're doing this as an out and back, right? So we're moving from Homestake north up the Continental Divide Trail towards Our Lady. It would be great if you managed to make it all the way to Our Lady, but there's no pressure to do so. Everyone's going to be moving along the same section of trail. Since we're doing it as an out and back, even if you don't make it all the way there, you can turn around and you can know that you'll meet up with runners as you work your way back towards the trailhead. Okay, so again, we'll have everybody back at the trailhead by 1:40 p.m. We'll be doing a double check on head count, so it's important that we have everyone back no later than that time. We'll be turning around about 2 hours and 20 minutes into that. More information will follow on that as well. We'll head north, as I mentioned already. It's a 12-mile section from Homestake Pass to Our Lady. Wes just discussed Our Lady of the Rockies is an uncrewed aid station. It's hard to access. Again, we think it's beneficial to see part of that section ahead of time to increase comfort and confidence, but it does mean that there won't be any crew access at Our Lady as well. So keep in mind as you run up towards Our Lady that the distance you cover on your way out, you'll need to cover on the way back. So keep that in mind as you look at the resources that you're carrying and things like that this weekend. We'll plan to turn around on the run by 11:30 a.m. That should give you plenty of time to work your way out for about 2 hours and 20 minutes and then work your way back towards the trailhead and be back by that 1:40 p.m. Again, we'll have the GPX route for the section posted. It's already part of the runner guide, but we'll send out another email with this video that will make that information easily available. It is essential that everybody have that downloaded on their phone. Navigation shouldn't be too challenging since we're going to be along the CDT, but we want to make sure that everyone has that information readily at their disposal if they find themselves astray and need to find their way back onto the CDT. At some point. We'll also include those details around our meet time and the duration and the location. Again, that location is Homestake Pass, just off of Highway 90 as you approach Butte. Okay. Let's see, other things to say here. I think that covers just about all of it around training run logistics. Um, it is a training day, right? So we're still providing most of our own supplies for this one. There won't be aid stations on course for this longer training run. So make sure that you bring all the food and calories that you need for this training run as well in a device that you can carry it effectively for that training run. We recommend strongly a minimum of 2 liters of water for a 4.5 hour outing, right? So at least half a liter per hour that you plan to be out. So please make sure you bring those things with you. A runner asked, what are the specific challenges of the Copper Kings 100 that I should be mentally prepared for? Route finding on race day should be pretty manageable. Wes has a lot of volunteers and a great team putting that together to make sure that the course is well marked for you all. So I wouldn't expect that that's going to be a major challenge. And I know that Wes has been putting tons of work into trail maintenance down that way as well, so the course should be in good shape for everybody. The challenges we associate with Butte are going to be, first and foremost, high weather, high altitude, right? So the course, on average, occurs at 7,000 feet above sea level. That's higher than most things. And for those of you who haven't maybe run a race at altitude before, everything just feels a little bit harder, right? You're moving a little bit slower on the climbs. Even at an easy jog, you're moving a little bit slower. You're feeling a little bit more out of breath. Don't let it deter you. We just want to breach that now, that if you're feeling like you're working a little bit harder than you did in some of your training runs, it could simply be a factor of the altitude. It doesn't mean that anything's going horribly wrong, right? So keep track of yourself and don't be discouraged by that feature of this course. The elements are a little bit unpredictable in Montana. Wes already discussed the importance of weather and being prepared for all conditions, so we won't talk any more about that, but expect UV, potential heat exposure, wind, rain, cold temps at night, all of those things. How should my diet look in the days and hours leading up to the race start? My advice to athletes that I work with on this is going to be really not too different from what it looks like on a normal week. Now, there's some certain challenges that come with that. One of the big ones is the taper tantrums, right? A lot of us approach race day, and in that final week, we're anxious. We're thinking a lot about race day and trying to make sure we don't do anything wrong. Oftentimes, we end up eating less or eating slightly differently than we would in a normal week, even without meaning to. So try to keep that diet as familiar as possible during that last 7 days at least, right? Try to eat things that you're familiar with and you know sit well for you. And then the carbo load, right? The carbo load is sort of storied as this huge sort of feast that occurs the night before the race. My advice is that if you start the carbo load the night before the race, it's too late. Okay, so make sure you start the carbo load at least 48 hours before race day. It's not gorging yourself on twice the amount of food that you normally consume. That's not going to make you feel good either, right? So 10 to 15% increase in your carbohydrate intake daily for that last 2 days, right? So just eating a little bit more carbohydrate than you normally would while still sticking to foods that you know work well for you and that you enjoy, okay? So that would be our advice around nutrition leading into race day. Do not wait until the night before the race in order to be your best. Tapering. This Saturday's long run will be really the last opportunity to build major fitness that will have time to allow your body to adapt before you toe the start line. At that point, you're moving hard into the taper. Don't worry about fitness anymore. Just keep your routines, right? We still want to run consistently, but make everything as easy for yourself as possible. Sleep at night. Keep those runs at a low effort. Don't try to prove anything to yourself with hero workouts. Follow the plan as we've laid out for you if you're using the official plan of the race. If not, then just make sure that you keep your routine and don't stress yourself out. The work is done. Now just recover and you'll feel your best for race day. That would be our advice there. Okay, and then what are the big mistakes, finally, to avoid if this is your first attempt at 100 miles? The biggest challenge we find with athletes who are going after the 100-mile distance for the first time, having already maybe run 50-mile or 100K races, really comes with the distance itself. It's really different from some races that occur within a single day, sometimes even finishing before nightfall. Just know that it is very likely something will go wrong at some point in 100 miles. It's just a feature of the race. It's one of the joys of the race rather than a negative challenge of the race. Is problem solving is part of that process. So the cutoff for Copper Kings is allowance, right? If something is going wrong, don't be discouraged. If you feel crampy, if you feel really hungry, if your stomach's turned over, if you have this blister on your foot, those are just a few scenarios. It could be any one of a number of things. The cutoffs are allowant of you taking time to slow down, sit in a chair at your aid station, talk to your crew, sort it out, right? I've seen athletes spend 30, 40, an hour in a chair at an aid station, putting themselves back together and going on to run an incredible race. So don't get discouraged. A little bit of time now could save you in the long run. Okay, so that would be my last bit of advice and the last question that we had to field. We are excited to see you. I'll be on site this Saturday for our group run, so please do come if you're in the Butte area, coming from somewhere nearby, Butte, Missoula, wherever, Bozeman, wherever you call home. I call Bozeman home. Excited to see you out there this weekend, and if I don't see you out there for the training run this weekend, I'll be sure to see you at the Homestake Aid Station on race day.
Greg, thank you so much. There's a lot of great information for our runners, and I'm excited for everybody who's been using the training plan to put it all into action as they make their way around this amazing loop. Just a couple last minute things before we close. If you had purchased merch through the pre-sale, that will be available for you at Bib Pickup. If you missed that for some reason, that'll also be available at the finish. And if you did not purchase at the in that pre-race pre-sale, the merch pre-sale, whatever we call it, if you didn't purchase, then we will also be selling things at both Bib Pickup and at the finish line. So we have lots of wonderful shirts and and sweatshirt and amazing hats. So there's a lot of great things that we'll have at the merch table for you. I also want to share with you that your crews and family will probably be interested in asking you about a live tracking link. The live tracking link on the website will go live the week of the race. So keep an eye on the website. There is a link there there will be a link for the live tracking page. And yeah, that's the end of this informational video. We are very excited to see you in Butte for this memorable adventure. I ask you all to eat and sleep well as we get close, and then as you travel here, please do travel safe. And if there's anything that we didn't answer, if you still have a question about something, please do let us know. All right, Greg, thanks so much for helping me with this video. It's been really great to have you here, and
Thanks so much.
absolutely, Greg. Yeah, thank you for joining me. And it's been great to have you as our partner as we get all these runners ready for this race. And all of you runners, we look forward to seeing you in Butte. Talk to you soon.
Good luck, everybody.